This week on Unscripted, WWE files a new trademark in the Woken universe. Also news on Brock Lesnar's massive new deal and what is in that deal for him. And The Rock calls a newcomer to the NXT roster a future world champion who could usher in a new era in WWE. All this and more on the future #1 podcast right here on YouTube.com. This is Unscripted. What is going on, everybody? It is the Front, and we are here again for our next episode of Unscripted. We're at 16. It's only been about 2.5 months, maybe 3 months since we started doing this, so this has been a lot of fun. But we've got a lot of news to get into, and of course, I do want to bring up the fact that Bruno Sammartino, of course, I did. If you were to check out my NXT review this past week, I did at the end have a little 10-bell salute at the end for Bruno Sammartino. This dude is the whole reason any of this is possible. Anybody who wants to say that Hulk Hogan put wrestling on the map for WWE is full of it. If Bruno Sammartino was not Bruno Sammartino back in the day, then Hulk Hogan wouldn't have been there. There would have been nothing. The Capital Wrestling Corporation into the WWF would have not existed as it is today as WWE. So it is great to see that WWE on Monday, if you want to know more about Bruno Sammartino, say you're my age, who wasn't around when Bruno Sammartino was doing his thing, selling out the Madison Square Garden on a week, on like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 times a month. WWE, right after Raw on the WWE Network, will have a celebration of Bruno's life, which I think is perfect. I know they probably will have their spin on some things that happened with him. But it is going to be great to see that he was able to, that everything that he did, and it is great to see that he actually was inducted into the Hall of Fame before his passing. I guess I'm glad that they finally mended those fences. Every so often on the WWE Network, if you watch on there, they'll have this little special talking segment with him and Bob Backlund, so should always check out for those. But he did pass away a couple days ago following a hospitalization, according to PW Insider, and he passed away at 82. He lived a long life. This isn't something you should mourn as much, more as in celebrate. So yes, 10-bell salutes will probably be done on Monday. They were at Cape Town. I know other places, other independent places, I'm sure, as well, paid tribute. Impact Wrestling and Ring of Honor probably did too. Because again, if Bruno Sammartino was not who Bruno Sammartino was, then the Worldwide Wrestling Federation probably wouldn't have been as successful as it was when Vincent J. McMahon had it, and then Vince Jr. wouldn't have been able to buy it and then make it into what we know today as the WWE after 40, 50 years as the WWF. So it is a sad week for WWE. There was also, I believe, a couple other. There was a manager, I believe, that passed away. I can't get the name off the top of my head. I apologize. But again, just another. We lost the living legend is no longer living, so he is just the legend. Bruno Sammartino died at 82. If you are a Bruno fan, leave your thoughts on Bruno Sammartino down below. If you were alive when Bruno was the man in the wrestling world for the WWF and of course WWF. Let me know what, especially WWE Network shows, because it is great that we can go back on the WWE Network. If you were around when Bruno Sammartino was in his heyday and you know what's something to see, well, you should go see this. Type it down in the comment section and let me know. But again, rest in peace, Bruno. We do know that he will be missed. Let's get into what happened this week. We had a lot go down for WWE. The Superstar Shakeup pretty much showed that SmackDown Live is the A show for the main roster, the B show overall with NXT. I almost want to call it the C show because 205 Live is getting up there in show quality. So It's, in my opinion, out of the 4 shows for WWE, it's NXT, SmackDown barely on paper, 205 Live, and Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw is passed up by 205 Live. Not all the time, because they still have their bumps in the road, but there are times with 205 Live where it is the second best show of the week, and that just shows how good Triple H is and how good Triple H will be good for the WWE. We had Raw and SmackDown, of course, change up their rosters. I was hoping they could have did something where you have Raw and SmackDown switch, like have people switch from those shows. You have Drew McIntyre come up to Raw, Almas and Sanity come up to SmackDown, but have some people go to NXT. Mike Kanellis, Zack Ryder, Mojo Rawley needs to go back down there. Those guys, of course, would have been great, like Mike Kanellis especially, since a lot of people in the WWE universe has no idea who Mike Kanellis is. I mean, Mike Bennett, of course, was in Ring of Honor and NXT and in Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling for a bit. Comes to WWE and they just throw him on the main roster because of his wife. His wife, who has now just recently had a baby and probably won't be on WWE television for a long time, and he had a mini feud with Sami Zayn where they both traded wins, and then he lost to Bobby Roode, I believe, when Bobby Roode first came up, and after that he really hasn't been seen. I know he had his drug recovery, so commended him on that, but he did say in his WWE YouTube page exclusive, they say WWE.com, but it's on the YouTube page, that he was complacent on SmackDown and he's going to take every opportunity that he gets on Raw. So I don't see anything like that happening. He's just going to be a jobber, but you know what they did with Jinder Mahal last year, which killed SmackDown Live for the better part of 6 to 7 months. Monday Night Raw also got pretty much nothing else that was really worth anything except for Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler's team and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. I mean, the first 2 trade picks of Monday Night Raw from SmackDown Live was Jinder Mahal and the entire Riot Squad, which honestly the Superstar Shakeup should have been a way to break them up. You broke up Chad, Benjamin and Gable, which I don't know why you broke them up, but yet you leave the Riot Squad and the Remnants of Absolution as units instead of breaking them up like you should have, because both of these groups are doing absolutely nothing. So like the first hour and like half an hour of Monday Night Raw, it was like, wow, Raw just got worse. And of course, Bayley and Sasha Banks, their entire storyline of their blood feud has just been thrown on the back burner, because what happens? They're having a pretty decent match, and the Riot Squad of Liv Morgan, Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott, and Sarah Logan come out and just beat the holy hell out of them. So what are we going to have? For the next 6 months, we're going to have Bayley and Sasha Banks coming together because the enemy, my enemy, is my friend. We were fighting last week, but now we have to come together to take out the Riot Squad. Give me a break. Sarah Logan with her fake country accent, which honestly, that is a fake country accent. I live in Ohio, where we have country people around here all over the place, and they would sit there and call that accent out, because that accent is awful. Then we have Liv Morgan, who the reason Carmella's in her nice little onesie on SmackDown Live, Carmella is Liv Morgan. Because as soon as Carmella came up and I saw Liv Morgan on NXT, I'm like, wow, there's your Carmella knockoff. She's dressed exactly how Carmella does, does the moonwalk, that has the same mannerism as Carmella, so they're trying to recreate Carmella out of Liv Morgan. And it's kind of convenient, right before Liv Morgan comes up to SmackDown Live, what do? They have Carmella go from wearing her pants and her tank top, looking like a fly girl would, to a onesie that looks god fucking awful. And I'll get to Carmella later, because that entire segment on SmackDown Live this past week was awful as can be. I never want to. She needs to lose the championship like that. At Backlash, I think it's a little too long to wait, because that entire segment just showed that she is not ready to be a women's champion. Period. Who else did Raw again? Bobby Roode, which. With the way WWE Monday Night Raw is settled right now, you have Roman Reigns, who's supposed to be a babyface, you have Finn Balor, you have Seth Rollins, you have Bobby Lashley, you have Bobby Roode. That's a lot of baby faces for the top spots. That's a lot of baby faces. Somebody needs to turn heel. Not Seth Rollins. You know they're not going to turn Roman. Bobby Lashley, I can see them maybe turning heel. Finn Balor could use a heel turn, but they did get rid of Anderson and Gallows for him. And I would turn Bobby Roode heel. They have so many opportunities now to give that heel run that Bobby Roode desperately needs. In Impact Wrestling, the only time that Bobby Roode really resonated as a babyface was when it was Fortune versus when Fortune came out and helped Ken Anderson beat Jeff Hardy, I believe, and it was Fortune versus Immortal, and he cut that scathing promo, that scathing promo on Hulk Hogan. That was the best time. That was like his best run as a babyface for that entire minute. Then when he turned on his buddy, James Storm, and took the title from James and became the longest reigning, I believe he's still the longest reigning Impact Wrestling champion, Impact Wrestling champion of all time in any incarnation of that belt, that was his best run, and that was his coming out party as a heel. Bobby Roode is a great heel. So he needs to turn heel, hopefully before Backlash or on the way to Backlash, or at Backlash, whichever. But his time as a babyface is over. Seth Rollins, no, he does not need to turn heel. Seth Rollins is a babyface now. He's doing the whole Monday Night Rollins thing, Grand Slam Rollins, if he still wants to call that, even though Jeff Hardy is the recent two-time Grand Slam champion, being the original incarnation and the current incarnation, which they don't want to mention that, but anyway. So they got Drew McIntyre as well with Dolph Ziggler. That Claymore into the zigzag finish combo is a thing of beauty. Can't wait to see what these two do. They can also, if they want to, which I don't know if they're going to keep these two together for long, because Drew McIntyre just screams Universal Champion. But with Roman Reigns being the top babyface, maybe they brought him in a heel, and as a heel for him to go up against Roman Reigns. But of course, Roman Reigns being the one which WWE needs to get off his dick. Roman Reigns is not the guy. Plain and simple. You didn't have to work this hard to put John Cena over. John Cena was over when they made him the guy. Stone Cold was over when they made him the guy. Same thing with Hogan. The Rock, when he became the guy, because when Austin was injured, he was pretty much the guy. Triple H was never the guy, so they had to do everything. Triple H did everything he could to get himself over, whether you like it or not. But if you have to go to the lengths that they have to try and get somebody over like Roman Reigns, does that really make you the guy? Seriously. We'll talk about that more probably later when it comes to the Brock Lesnar's deal and everything. SmackDown Live did a lot better. They got Samoa Joe, they got Jeff Hardy. Those are the first two showings of the Superstar Shakeup for SmackDown. If that would have been it for SmackDown, I'd be like, SmackDown won. Jeff Hardy versus Samoa Joe. Jeff Hardy versus AJ Styles. Jeff Hardy versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Jeff Hardy versus Daniel Bryan. Samoa Joe versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Remember how great that rivalry was in NXT? AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe. Anybody who remembers the only 5-star match that TNA and Impact Wrestling ever got was those two plus Christopher Daniels. Imagine what those two could do nowadays. Daniel Bryan versus Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe versus Randy Orton. Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton. I believe the last time Jeff Hardy wrestled Randy Orton in any way, shape, or form was when Randy Orton was the WWE champion at the Royal Rumble, 2008? Where Randy Orton reversed a twist of fate into an RKO, which is one of the top 10 RKO out of nowheres on WWE's YouTube page. So many more possibilities. Sanity, the Club, the brothers, the Good Brothers, who could probably team with AJ Styles again, and we could have the original club that they had when they came to WWE. You have the Bar, who really needed to move. Asuka, really obvious, which obviously they're going to be going back to Asuka versus Charlotte. Maybe at SummerSlam. I think you might want to hold that off, because a rematch where this time Asuka gets the win and wins the Women's Championship makes sense, because you're not going to have Charlotte being the Women's Champion towards the end of the year. That should be Asuka, having her go to WrestleMania next year as the Women's Champion. And the fact that they kept Charlotte on SmackDown, to anyone who wants to know, the reason they kept Charlotte on SmackDown is to keep her away from Ronda Rousey. Plain and simple. Charlotte is going to be the second woman to ever win the Royal Rumble, and she's going to go after Ronda Rousey's championship, because Ronda Rousey is going to probably win the women's Elimination Chamber and win the Raw Women's Championship, go to WrestleMania as Raw Women's Champion while Charlotte goes after her title, so you can have the Charlotte versus Ronda Rousey match, which again, in my opinion, at this time, is still not the big money match that they could have had in the main event. That should have been Rousey versus an undefeated Asuka. But with the fact that Asuka is on SmackDown now, and Raw, and WWE wants to have the Ronda Rousey be in the Raw main event instead of the SmackDown main event for the Women's Championship, makes you see why they did not have Asuka continue her streak. In my opinion, if you wanted to do it right, Asuka and Charlotte, if you wanted to keep these two, because you don't have to build two Charlotte versus Ronda Rousey, even though they're on the same brand, till next year. But if you would have brought Charlotte over, you could have had Charlotte win the Raw Women's Championship from Nia Jax or whomever they wanted to. Asuka win the SmackDown Women's Championship. These two go to Survivor Series because you know they're probably going to do champion versus champion again, which I have no problem with that. The men's WWE Universal Championship match was the best match of the night for Survivor Series. Good thing they didn't have fucking Jinder Mahal on that championship in that match like they were supposed to. But these two go into Survivor Series, both champions. Asuka and Charlotte wrestling a 25 to 30 minute match. And instead of having Charlotte tap her out to a broken figure eight, she goes up, she hits 3 or 4 natural selections on Asuka because she keeps kicking out. Asuka won't go down. Charlotte then drags her over to the corner, hits a natural selection off the top rope. 1, 2, 3, and Asuka kicks out after the 3 because you want to keep Asuka strong. It doesn't kill the move as much. It just like Asuka's that badass that she lost her streak, but only by a hair. They did it with Hogan at WrestleMania 9. They did it with Undertaker and Kane at WrestleMania 14, when Kane kicked out. Right after, I believe, I just watched something to wrestle with Bruce Pritchard on Wednesday. I believe he said that they said Kane kicked out as soon as Undertaker as soon as the 3 hit. Do that with Asuka. Asuka's streak is broken, but she still looks strong because she took everything Charlotte had and came out looking like, but Charlotte got the victory, but only by a hair. At the match at WrestleMania, yes, it looked like I know they wanted to have Charlotte win the match, but the way the match ended, it felt like there was she did not take everything Charlotte could have taken out. It's like when Undertaker beat Kane the first time at WrestleMania. Kane got hit with 3 tombstone power drammers and kicked out at the last, a second too late. Why didn't you do that with Asuka? If you wanted to do that at WrestleMania, that would have been great for them. I mean, yes, Asuka should have kicked out of that. Should have kept her streak, took the Women's Championship, and then you could have did something with Charlotte and lead up to SummerSlam or Survivor Series. But honestly, the streak breaking at WrestleMania was not a good idea because it was overshadowed. Having a streak be broken like that should have been a big deal, and it's really not the biggest deal coming out of WrestleMania. When you have the swerve of Brock Lesnar retaining his title, and Ronda Rousey's debut, and Daniel Bryan's return to the ring, that's 3 major talking points right there that's just going to throw Asuka's streak being broken to the side. If you would have kept it for SummerSlam or even Survivor Series, I think Survivor Series would have been a better idea because the Survivor Series is usually known as the week of the 4, which is going to be 5 this year if you want to count Money in the Bank, because that's just how we're going to do it. But that is where they made a mistake. I still think Asuka versus Charlotte could have been Charlotte winning it, but not at the right time, because it just looked bad in the end. So, obviously, Asuka coming to SmackDown means we're getting, and Charlotte not going to Raw means we're getting Charlotte versus Asuka 2, excuse me, with Asuka coming out as the victor, maybe at SummerSlam, leading to, and if Asuka does come out as the victor in the second matchup, then they have to have a third one, which could culminate at the Royal Rumble or something like that, unless they want to do Asuka versus Charlotte at Extreme Rules or whatever is in June or July. Probably in Extreme Rules, and then we get the SummerSlam for the third one. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Sanity, of course, comes to SmackDown. Then we have Andrade Cien, which I hope WWE does not fuck him over. This guy was Andrade Cien was La Sombra on like back in Mexico. He comes to WWE. They put him in suspenders with a top hat. He looks like a stripper from Chippendales. Excuse me, I have something in my throat. And he looked like he was just on his way out. He was going to be done. He was just waiting for them to fire him. And what happens? Zelina Vega, or Rosita from TNA, Austin Aries' wife or fiance, lucky dude, comes in, pretty much gets him into shape, gets his life going straight, and he becomes the NXT champion. The biggest swerve I think any NXT championship run that I've ever seen. Nobody going into War Games thought he was going to win that match. Nobody. Then he did. He beat Johnny Gargano in Philadelphia. Still going back to that match, it's kind of hard to not give Johnny Gargano the championship that night. I even said it then, and I'll say it now. I think that was the perfect time at the time to give Johnny Gargano the championship. But then you understand why they didn't do that, and why Johnny Gargano lost clean, I guess you could say. Then of course we had all that. But then he, of course, got the title and had a nice 5 months reign. Yeah, 5 months reign. He had a nice reign. Not too many people, no one expected it, and he held the title, and he looked like a champion. WWE champion in the long run, mostly. He is a better equivalent to Alberto Del Rio. Why would you want to hire Alberto Del Rio back in WWE when you have Andrade Cien right there with Zelina Vega? That act cannot break up. That is one of my biggest fears coming into SmackDown, is that by the end of this year, Cien will be on his own, and Zelina Vega will be off wrestling the women, and because something happened and she got fired by him or she quit. I don't want to see that. His entire gimmick right now is tied to Zelina Vega. Them together is successful. You break those two apart, they would be just like everybody else, and everything that they were will just be dead. And Jeff Hardy, of course, going to SmackDown was a good move. It was definitely great to see Jeff Hardy on SmackDown. And quite honestly, if they were to do trades, if they would have did like some people wanted to go in the back and see them doing trades, that's not going to happen. The Raw SmackDown teams came to locker rooms, came to Monday Night Raw. They sat in a room, and probably Triple H, Vince McMahon, Kevin Dunn. Did I heard my name? Yes, Kevin, you're a fucking moron. That's not necessary. I have to go talk to Vince. Anyway, those guys and John Laurinaitis and anybody else and the producers and everything probably sat there in the room in the back and had the locker rooms like on the sheet. They had like new boards. They had this is what the locker room used to look like, and this is what it's going to look like now, and that's what you knew. So all the trades and stuff, that's whatever. But if these two groups with like two entities were doing trades, Kurt Angle looks like a fucking idiot because you gave up Samoa Joe, you gave up Jeff Hardy, you gave up the chances to go get Sanity and Andrade Cien and the bar you gave up Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Did not give up the Revival, which I thought completely was, I thought differently. I thought the loser of that match with Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt versus the Revival was going to SmackDown, but I was wrong. But in all, Paige honestly looked like the better GM, and of course Shane McMahon looked like the better commissioner, just because of how stacked SmackDown Live. SmackDown Live looks stacked, plain and simple. Samoa Joe should be going up against AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura. He should be at that level right now, that after the Greatest Royal Rumble and of course Backlash, because he's going to be facing Roman Reigns for the Universal title, or without it on the line, whichever. But he should be, after Backlash, in the same conversation for title matches as Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles. I can't wait to see what they do with him. Hopefully they don't fuck him over like they did on Monday Night Raw. This dude should be WWE champion by the end of the year. Nakamura, of course, can win it, but Samoa Joe, of course, would need to be a babyface then, because you're not going to do heel Nakamura versus heel Samoa Joe. So all in all, SmackDown, of course, fleeced Monday Night Raw of its top talent while taking most of the fat and just getting it out and dropping it in the Monday Night Raw. Jinder Mahal, terrible. Riot Squad, terrible. Dolph Ziggler, let's see what happens with him and Drew McIntyre. Other than Drew McIntyre, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and potentially a heel Bobby Roode if it happens. And Baron Corbin, maybe. I don't know. Baron Corbin's still got a long way to go. But other than that, SmackDown Live got won this entire thing. Plain and simple. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. NXT, of course, gave us great action. The War Raiders, Ricochet's debut. I did see that Ricochet got an endorsement from somebody, and we will talk about that later. He did do a nice little moonsault to pretty much paying homage to one of probably his favorite superstars later on. But we also got Johnny Gargano and Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae taking care of Andrade Cien Almas and Zelina Vega, and he called out Aleister Black, and apparently next week we will see a title match between him and Aleister Black. I don't see that match actually happening since Johnny Gargano thinks, and this is good booking if they do this right, he thinks he has gotten rid of Tommaso Ciampa. And Tommaso Ciampa is not going to go away that easily. I couldn't get rid of Johnny Gargano, so I'm going to make his life a living hell. I'm going to get Dastardly. People are suggesting maybe Candice LeRae be attacked by Tommaso Ciampa. It's in her background. She went up against guys like Kevin Owens and others. And I believe Seth Rollins maybe at one time too. Maybe Ricochet as well in the Independents. Joey Ryan was her tag team partner, the world's cutest tag team. But I don't see this happening because it is WWE, whether it's on the network, on Monday Night Raw, on SmackDown Live, 205 Live, or whatever. They're not going to allow man-on-woman violence unless it's by accident, which, of course, as you know, Stephanie McMahon getting put through a table, and Roman Reigns, I believe, speared her the year before that. Other than that, they're not going to do deliberate man-on-woman violence. It's just not going to happen. They have shareholders to answer to, and they don't, and advertisers to turn to and talk to who would be totally against it, even though Candice LeRae can't handle herself. But somehow, some way, this match will not be happening because I hope it's like you hear Johnny Gargano's music play, Aleister Black's already in the ring, Johnny Gargano's music plays, and then nothing. Johnny Gargano's music plays again, and then we get sent to the back. And he's laid out, and Tommaso Ciampa is just standing there over him, or just sitting there. Maybe it's in the locker room area, and he could just be sitting there on a bench while Johnny Gargano is pretty much laid out, and he's just saying something dastardly to Johnny Gargano. But that is NXT. It is starting to build slowly because we do have until June, I believe, June, 2 days before the UK tournament. I believe it's in June, yeah, until we get there. So we have another 2 set of tapings or 1 set of tapings after this. So we got ourselves, the candle has been lit for the next takeover, and it's going to be a slow burn. We're not going to get anything majorly big out of this takeover, out of this set of tapings for takeover. It'll be the next set where it's going to be okay, what you got from me, NXT? But so enjoy what you have right now because it's going to be this is the down, I guess you want to say down month, because every time there's a month, 2 or 3 months in between takeovers, there's always that first month where not as much is done until after the first set of tapings. When we get to the second set of tapings is where everything will pick right up. Let's get into the news here. WWE files trademark for Woken Warriors. PW Insiders reporting that the WWE supplied for the trademark Woken Warrior for merchandising purposes. Pretty much meaning, so, how we're all Woken Warriors now instead of the Broken Universe, it's the Woken Universe. So, t-shirts, wristbands or anything, just they don't own the Broken Universe. Matt Hardy does, but they own Woken. So, anyone who's thinking, well, he owns Broken now, so maybe we'll see Broken Universe, the Broken Matt Hardy. No, it's the same thing. It's just a different name. It's just a turn on the name. So Matt Hardy owns the rights now, but WWE is going to put their spin on it, and hopefully with the Bray Wyatt thing coming up soon, and of course with the Bar going to SmackDown, we know who's going to be the Raw Tag Team Champions coming out of the Greatest Royal Rumble. And I'm glad the rumored Sanity becoming part of Bray Wyatt becoming the leader of Sanity is not going to happen with Sanity going to SmackDown and Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy on Monday Night Raw. Unless they swerve us in Saudi Arabia, the Bar, for some reason, wins the Raw Tag Team Champions and goes to SmackDown and has to face a Raw Tag Team at Backlash. I don't see that happening. So it's going to be great to see this team, and hopefully this time when Bray Wyatt is a tag team champion, unlike the last time when they held him and really nothing happened, and they lost him like not too long after that to American Alpha. Hopefully they can have a nice lengthy reign and make the tag team titles feel important, because those tag team titles coming out of WrestleMania have been put in the ground, and it was 12 feet under. They're not 6 feet under, they're 12 feet under. So hopefully the Delitos of Worlds can resurrect those tag team titles. So Woken Warrior, anybody who wants to try and get money off the Woken Warrior name, you have to answer to WWE because it is trademarked by them. A veteran WWE talent wants to help younger talent, which is always a plus if veteran talent will do this. WWE veteran Goldust took to Twitter on Tuesday and wrote the following statement on wanting to help the younger talents come up. He later posted another tweet clarifying that he is not hanging up his boots. Here we go. Dustin says, our industry has blessed me beyond anything I could have ever hoped for. For 30 years, you, the fans, have welcomed me in your home. You hated me, loved me, and have come to adore me. For that, I say thank you. My love for pro wrestling still has a spark in my heart. The kids are what matter to me. Now, as I am grown older and a little wiser, I want to pass on my knowledge just as it was to me. Our roster is stacked. Don't know everything, but I do know psychology and how to work. If any of our young talent need help, I am here. You are my family, away from my family, and I love you all of you, and want you to succeed the best you can. If I can help you in that area, great. Just ask and continue to keep stepping and kicking ass. Dustin Reynolds. Of course, he later tweeted if he's hanging him up because people were like, oh, he must be done. He might just be a producer backstage. Just so none of you are confused, whenever I decide to hang in my boots, which is not now, you will be first to know. There will be no mincing words. This is great for anybody who wants to learn the ins and outs of being a great heel, because Dustin Rhodes back in the the mid-90s, 95, 96, that area, was one of the best heels on the WWF roster at the time. This guy knows how to work a crowd. This guy knows how to just get into his opponent's heads and make everything work. He was in how to make a character work and take a character and make it his own. He was given Goldust as a character, and anybody else, I'm saying this now, anybody else besides him, his brother Cody, or even his father, given that type of character, probably would have failed immediately. This guy was a 4 or 5 time Intercontinental Champion in the 90s. This guy was great as Goldust. He still is there. It's not the same Goldust as it was back in the day. Then it's the suggested of him being gay as it was back then is gone. He's more of a relic, really. I mean, when Dustin wants to put up his boots forever, he's still going to have a major role in the wrestling business, because he can help every single person in the back. Those guys out there, I mean, a couple years back in the 2002 when they had the Un-Americans, Lance Storm, Christian, and Test and they brought William Regal along later. Those 3 guys, Christian, Test, and Lance Storm, could not handle the heat they were getting from that gimmick of holding a flag that was upside down, wanting to burn that flag a couple times. Those guys could not handle the heat. William Regal loved it. He knew how to work a crowd, and he could have been there to help those guys. Dustin Reynolds, Goldust could do that for somebody nowadays. If you're unsure of yourself, if you're unsure of being a bad guy in WWE, go talk to Dustin. This guy can help you calm the nerves, because there are guys in there, and the reason a lot of people don't like being heel is because they hate getting booed. They don't want to feel hated by the fans. That's like a detriment to a lot of superstars. That's why you see guys like Randy Orton, who is a magnificent heel. He works well as a heel. Triple H is a great heel when he wants to be. Let me see here. Batista was a great heel in his heyday, and every so often, like when he came back, he should have been a heel. The Rock can be a good heel. Guys like that are great heels because they know how to work a crowd. One of the biggest problems with today's guys is that they just, like, not just in WWE, but everywhere, they don't want to be booed because they want to go out there, hit the high spots, and get the crowd to cheer. A lot of guys, there are guys out there I've seen who know how to be heels. Hell, look at Baron Corbin. This guy, when he came into NXT, when he first started as a guy who wasn't a jobber, because I guess he was a jobber just like everybody else, his first, I don't know, 20, 30 matches were the crowd was counting and how fast his match would go. Eventually, he didn't give a fuck what the crowd says, and he just sits there and he soaks up the boos. That's a good heel. This guy, like Dustin, is a commodity to, like a hot commodity when it would come to learning how to be a good heel. He's a babyface. Goldust is, he's more of a better, like that character is better as a heel. So working on the mic, how to work the crowd as a heel. This guy would be able to help you out. How to be the psychology in the ring. Dustin would be a great guy to go pick your brain. If you were a young guy coming up from NXT, Andrade Cien Almas, same guy like him. Drew McIntyre, pick the brain of him. Even though Drew McIntyre is good as a heel or a babyface, Drew McIntyre is one of those guys who can do that great. Braun Strowman could pick the guy's brain a little bit if he wanted to. Anybody in WWE who is a young guy, Mike Kanellis could come since he's on Raw now. Go talk to Goldust, pick his brain on how to make yourself a better wrestler and a better overall performer. This guy is great. He doesn't wrestle that much anymore because he really doesn't need to. So I think hanging up the boots when he does, him being down in NXT, I would honestly put him in NXT to go to the Performance Center and help the guys out, like a Ricochet, like a Leo Rush. Anybody who needs help with this is Leo Rush. News coming out of the last of the taping, speaking of Leo Rush, is that he's got a bodyguard now. They're going to do a bodyguard angle with him, where he's going to be like the Shawn Michaels Diesel type thing, which anytime they do a wrestler and a big bodyguard, I always compare it to Shawn Michaels and Diesel, simply because that was how you do it right. Shawn Michaels is the small guy. He goes out and wrestles. Diesel is his enforcer. So, according to some pictures I saw on somebody's Twitter page about this, it was a dark match. It wasn't part of the spoilers or anything. It was a dark match. So they're testing the waters with it. It looks like a Shawn Michaels and Diesel-like thing. He has the wrestling ability. If you watch his matches against the Velveteen Dream and Lars Sullivan, even though he got crushed by Lars Sullivan, he has the wrestling ability. He just has somebody to back him up when he gets into a sticky situation. But a guy like Leo Rush could use Dustin Reynolds and Dustin Rhodes like nurturing. He could, if Dustin Rhodes was to hang up his boots tomorrow and go to NXT, you have Shawn Michaels who's helping the Velveteen Dream and nurturing the Velveteen Dream. Dustin Rhodes could go out down there and get anybody he wanted to, who's young, like a Leo Rush or Kona Reeves, who's coming up, and just mold them and help them become better, and it would be a benefit to the wrestling business, no doubt about it. So it's great to see Dustin Rhodes wanting to help younger talent, because by all means, follow his footsteps, because Dusty did that for many, many superstars that are on the main roster today. Update on two former Lucha Underground stars. Last week, Lucha Underground stars Angelico and Jack Evans both announced on Twitter that they would be parting ways with the company. Angelico began, and it is Angelico. Anybody who wants to pronounce his name wrong, it's not Angelico, it's Angelico. Began his run in 2014 with the company and commented, now it is time to take another leap of faith. Evans also said he was finished with Lucha Underground after being with the company since 2015. According to the Wrestlers Observer newsletter, both Evans and Angelico received their official releases. In regards to Angelico, WWE has interest in him since after season 1 completed. As for Evans, he said the reason he quit was mainly due to the contract, but also brought up an argument with Ivelisse. Season 4 of Lucha Underground will begin on June 13th at 8 p.m. Eastern on Elevate Network. Season 3 finished up back in October 18th. So, Jack Evans, I don't know much about it if at all, but Angelico I've seen multiple times in the World Cup of Wrestling. He is him in WWE, we already have Ricochet, and I believe I saw an Angelico versus Ricochet match. Can you imagine? And Angelico is, I believe, on the same level, not as smooth as Ricochet, but he's up there with how good he can be. Angelico and Ricochet in NXT at the same time, maybe an Angelico versus Adam Cole, Angelico versus Ricochet. Take my fucking money and put that on an NXT takeover. Angelico would be, even though NXT is stacked as it is with Adam Cole, with Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, with Roderick Strong, with Lars Sullivan, with EC3, with Aleister Black, with Johnny Gargano, with Jack Evans, not Jack Evans, but Kona Reeves, if he does anything. They are stacked. But Adam Cole could use some competition for that North American Championship. Even though I know there's going to be people who's going to be floating from the NXT Championship to North American. You have Velveteen Dream as well. I could see Angelico if he was to come in at when we get to NXT Takeover Chicago and we see into the crowd and there is Angelico and they say Angelico on the nameplate, and I'd be like, oh hell yeah, that's gonna be awesome, because this guy has major talent, and I saw him last year with the World Cup of Wrestling. Go check that out if you haven't seen it yet. And Angelico is definitely someone to look out for. And if he does come to WWE, that is a plus for NXT. Yes, they are stacked at the top and in the mid card, but he would be a positive influence for NXT if Angelico would be able to come in the near future. Jack Evans, I don't know who he is. Like I said, I'll have to probably check him out, but I'm sure he would probably do well in Ring of Honor or NXT or wherever he would go. So that's your news update on it. I don't watch Lucha Underground, not because I don't want to, because I honestly can't unless I want to watch it on iTunes and pay for it episode at a time or season at a time, because I have PlayStation Vue and they don't have the El Rey network on PlayStation Vue in my area. So there you go. Season 4 coming in June, but it will not have Angelico or Jack Evans. We all want it. It's going to happen soon. Daniel Bryan and The Miz, we all want it on TV, but it's going to be happening in the UK, you lucky dogs. The UK is going to be getting Daniel Bryan versus The Miz set for upcoming tour. Tuesday, WWE announced that Daniel Bryan versus The Miz matches will be taking place during the May European Tour. The WWE UK Twitter account made the announcement with this tweet. Breaking news, Daniel Bryan will face at Mike The Miz in Liverpool, Newcastle, and Sheffield on the WWE UK Tour this May. Tickets available. So, yeah, yes. So, you lucky dogs. I'm pretty sure they put the matches between these two on house shows first. This is always a thing that they do. You throw a match usually between two people that people want to see on the main shows, because you're not just going to throw them together, especially with a long-standing feud like this. We just don't want to throw Daniel Bryan versus The Miz at Backlash just for the heck of it. They might even do it at Backlash, who knows. But Daniel Bryan versus The Miz at Liverpool, Newcastle, and Sheffield. Good, have fun. Those who are going to those, make sure to have fun with that, because you're going to probably see some of the best wrestling out there. So Daniel Bryan versus The Miz coming to Newcastle, Liverpool, and Sheffield in May. Enjoy yourself while you can. Here's an interesting article. I don't think is much news to anybody, but Orton's tattoo artist suing WWE in 2K games. What does this mean? TMZ was reporting that a tattoo artist from Illinois named Catherine Alexander is suing WWE in 2K games. Alexander said that she has been tattooing Orton back since 2003 and alleges that she owns the copyright to the design. Alexander alleges that her design is copied in 2K's WWE games. She says she raised the issue with 2009. In 2009, it was offered $450. There's not much else that I could find on this, but this is something that it's like WWE's had this problem too. Like 2K and before that, THQ had this problem too. Every time you would have CM Punk in the game, he has the Pepsi logo on his arm, on his left shoulder. And every time you see CM Punk in the game, he would not have the Pepsi logo in the corner in the game, because they couldn't add it in. This would be kind of hard for WWE and 2K games to have an authentic Randy Orton with all of these tattoos, especially if Catherine Alexander did all of Randy Orton's tattoos, which I don't think she did. But if she did the entire sleeves of Randy Orton, it's going to be kind of hard for them to put an authentic Randy Orton in the game, because say 2K19 comes out this year and Randy Orton comes out and his arms are clean. What do you think? People are going to be like, this isn't Randy Orton. What are you doing here? Oh, because they got sued. So I'm sure they'll probably settle this out of court and everything will be fine. Like, it's just... How are you going to copyright like art? Like, how are you going to copyright an art that is done on Randy Orton's arms, body, is going to be interesting, because if they're not designs that are unique, because he has, I think, a couple of them are skulls and stuff like that. That's something you really can't copyright. It's just skulls. But if there's any unique design, it's going to be like interesting to see what THQ and WWE do out of this. But somebody's trying to get a paycheck out of this, and that's all I can think about that. This next one is going to be, could really impact WWE and their TV negotiating deals. Update on Fox and the UFC. Over the past several months, there have been discussions on WWE potentially ending their relationship with USA Network, we can only hope, in order to commence a relationship and partnership with Fox. WWE's deal with NBC Universal expires September 30th, 2019, and CFO George Barriso said that the company hopes to announce their U.S. distribution plans between May and September of this year. In late 2017, Triple H had a meeting with the executives of Fox Sports to potentially rekindle a partnership. WWE worked with the company in the past, airing a couple of episodes of Saturday Night Main Event, as well as WrestleMania 11 special in 1995. To make the bidding war more competitive, Variety reports that ESPN has partnered up with rival Fox Sports to bid for television rights for the UFC. The two companies have recently proposed to split the UFC TV package, which would bring as many as 15 fights events to the new subscription streaming serving ESPN+. As a company, ESPN has agreed that it would be willing to pay $120 to $180 million per year to add UFC to the collection of live events rights. In addition, Fox is willing to increase their contributions from $120 million to $200 million, so that would mean UFC would be getting $320 to $380 million overall. The effort in ESPN's partnering with Fox aims to turn around the decline in UFC interest, as ratings dropped 22% in average total viewers from last year, falling to just under 2 million. The UFC Fight Night specials on FS1 have also fell 17%, averaging 795,000 viewers. The 2011 Fox signed a 7-year deal with UFC, which expires this year. A partnership with the ESPN would keep the relationship with Fox and UFC alive, particularly since Fox is in the transition selling the bulk of its entertainment division to Disney. In addition, this partnership would be the stronger presentation when the potential bidding war with the WWE. The $200 million bid for Fox to secure the UFC TV rights is far lower than the asking price of Endeavor's UFC parent company, which I think they wanted $400 million for the TV rights, which if they went with the ESPN package and ESPN went with $180 million and Fox went up to $200 million, that's only a $20 million difference per year, but that's still $20 million that UFC would want. This could be bad for WWE because they're probably looking to get back to 2 hours on Raw, and with USA Network wanting to be at 3 hours for Raw, that this, and anybody who wants to be a fan of WWE, if you're tired of 3-hour Raws, you hope this deal does not go through. Simply because WWE would be stuck on USA Network, because there really is nowhere else to go. It's either Fox or NBC Universal. That is it. You're not going to go to Viacom. I would really hate if they went to Viacom, because I wouldn't be able to watch it, period, without, some other means. But there's nothing else. I mean, Impact Wrestling had to work their butts off to get back to and do a lot of chicanery to get on Pop, because they were running out of options. WWE has either Fox or USA Network, and if Fox says nope, we're shacking up with the UFC again, then WWE is shut out left, and they're stuck in NBC Universal, where Raw will be 3 hours and SmackDown will be 2 hours, and anything else that they want to do. So anybody who wants to see Raw go back to 2 hours, you hope that the UFC balks at this agreement and says, you know what, we're going to go elsewhere. That's not good enough for us, so we're going to go elsewhere. WWE can swoop in. Raw is on Monday nights on Fox, which I honestly, Don't see them actually doing that, but Raw's on Fox on Monday nights. SmackDown on Tuesday is going to be on FS1. The question also is, with them going, if they were to leave USA and go to Fox, would SmackDown be live still, or would they take it back to tapings? I don't know. Let's hope not. This next one, someone just needs to keep their mouth shut because they haven't been part of the WWE family for a while. WWE Hall of Famer rips Ronda Rousey for a suggested finish. For Ronda Rousey, the transition from the UFC to WWE has been quite welcoming for both fans and fellow talent, making her debut match alongside Kurt Angle against Triple H and Stephanie McMahon at WrestleMania 34. Match of the night, 110%, because WWE did everything they could to sacrifice the rest of that pay-per-view to try and get Roman Reigns over, and it did not work. Rousey was highly impressive to many current and former WWE stars, as social media was flooded with adulation for the former WWE UFC bantamweight champion. However, one person felt quite the opposite as he recently displayed his feelings on social media. WWE Hall of Famer and former WWF champion superstar Billy Graham wrote an extensive and highly controversial post on Facebook bashing both WWE and Rousey for her emulation of Roddy Piper's Roddy nickname. Which, by the fucking way, dumbass, before I get anywhere else, Ronda Rousey was gifted that name from Piper himself. If you actually did your fucking research, you would know that. She asked him if she could use that nickname or something like that. Either she asked him and he approved it, or he gave it to her. She didn't just take it and say, well, I was a fan of Piper, so I'm going to use Rowdy Ronda Rousey. No. There was a mutual talk between those two. She even says that if it wasn't for Roddy Piper, she would not be where she is today. So do your fucking research, Billy Graham, before you start shooting your mouth off. As well as speculation on alternative plans that were reportedly being discussed to be the outcome of the mixed tag team match. Graham first addressed Rousey's gimmick, entitling the post Ronda Rousey versus Triple H. First off, to the fan who wrote, I find Ronda Rousey's use of Piper's gimmick nauseating. You, my brother, are dead on man. I found it a total insult and absolutely reveals that she does not have an original thought in her head, said Graham. Damn, can't she be an original in anything? This shows how shallow she is, and by the way, I am a fan of females being in the main events. He followed this comment by stating why he posted a picture of Amanda Nunes kicking her ass in 48 seconds, comparing the two by calling Nunes a real fighter and Rousey a real jobber. He then addressed a report from Dave Meltzer which stated that there was a rumor going around by WWE officials prior to WrestleMania 34 that Triple H was going to tap out to Rousey's armbar finish instead of Stephanie McMahon. However, Stephanie ended up tapping due to storyline continuity purposes, mainly because Triple H is not a regular on-screen character and Rousey attacking Stephanie on the following night on Raw. What? Miss Rousey was going to make Triple H tap out? This would have been received well as a cement truck full of pig shit being dumped on the Mania 34 fans. We had that at the end of the night, so don't even get there. And there were so many people in reaction and stuff that was hoping that when she had the armbar on Triple H, he would have tapped out. God, folks, what is the WWE thinking? Rousey is not a god of some kind, but a mere female ex-UFC failure. I'm pretty sure she's not a failure when she was an undefeated MMA fighter and had, 12 wins before she suffered her first loss. That's not really a failure. Someone being a failure is they go into the UFC and they lose 20 matches in a row and UFC so hires them. I got her flat ass kicked twice on the way out. Now, this is nauseating. I demand that you fans respond to this crap the WWE is trying to lay on you by even thinking about her making Triple H tap out. God, this makes me sick. Although Graham was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2004, his relationship with WWE has been acrimonious since then. To acquire money in order to assist with complications from a liver transplant, Graham sold his Hall of Fame ring on eBay, getting over $10,000 from a fan. He said he also heavily criticized WWE's selection of Hall of Fame inductees, and particularly Pete Rose, for his legal issues, and Abdullah the Butcher, where every match he has to cut himself or cut his opponent, and he's just obsessed with it. In a 2013 interview, Graham revealed that his relationship with Vince is horrible right now and severed forever, despite not remembering the root of why the relationship soured. This guy just sounds like he's off his fucking rocker. Now, Ronda Rousey tapping out Triple H would not have been a bad thing. I mean, I'm pretty sure the crowd would have went fucking apeshit for it. Maybe some people would have criticized it. Some people would have been fine with it. I would have been fine and would have been happy either way if Ronda Rousey tapped out Triple H or tapped out Stephanie McMahon, because Stephanie McMahon had that coming. Now, him calling her lousy, she worked her ass off to get this to this point, first and foremost. Nobody who went through everything she had to in the UFC to keep herself relevant and keep herself in the main event and work her ass off is not a lousy person. This guy just sounds like he has sour grapes. He has to just try and get the attention on himself because he's been irrelevant for 20 years. This guy got into the WWE. He was great when he was back in the day. He's been a total dick probably over the last 15, 20 years. He got inducted in the Hall of Fame in 2004, had one spot on WWE where he talked to Randy Orton right before Randy Orton challenged The Undertaker, and that was it. He is just irrelevant as it is, and anybody who takes anything he says with a grain of salt needs to really just stop watching wrestling. He's just lousy. He's just being a lousy human being. Just be happy for the woman. She did what she could to make this experience fun. It was a great fucking match, better than it had any right to be. And again, she didn't just say, well, I'm a fan of Roddy Piper, I'm going to take his nickname, I'm going to go out Ronda Rousey. No, he was a mentor to her in a way. He gifted her the name Ronda Rousey. He allowed her to be able to use that gimmick as herself. She was Rowdy Ronda Rousey in the UFC. Do your fucking research, you fat fuck. You're irrelevant nowadays. Keep it to yourself and just shut your fucking mouth. That's all. 205 Live Tag Team update as we continue on, because I don't want to talk about some lousy fucking piece of shit. It looks like WWE is slowly moving forward with plans for the new Cruiserweight Tag Team division. As we've seen this past week, the 205 Live episode featured Brian Kendrick and Jack Gallagher defeating two local competitors, while the main event saw Lindsay Dorado and Grand Metalik win a Tornado Tag Team main event over Hideo Itami and Akira Tozawa. So we have them getting closer. Obviously, since Triple H took over 205 Live, you notice the Lucha House Party, which is Lindsay Dorado, Grand Metalik, and Kalisto have been more of a thing. You have Hideo Itami and Akira Tozawa, who were put together. Jack Gallagher and a returning Brian Kendrick are together now too. That's 3 tag teams right there. Will we see more? I don't know. I honestly think as we go on, since there will be the tag team titles and the Cruiserweight Championship, as we move on, Cedric Alexander, whoever's going to be, like when Cedric Alexander loses the Cruiserweight title, him and Mustafa Ali will team up and there will be a tag team. This will be a revolving door for tag teams and Cruiserweight singles competitors, which is fine. As long as you keep these two relevant and you show that these belts matter. The Cruiserweight title, for the first time since Neville lost the title, the Cruiserweight title actually feels like it means something. Especially with Cedric Alexander, who was the rightful champion coming out of WrestleMania. So, well, I'm pretty sure, not by Backlash, I'm going to say maybe Extreme Rules or the pay-per-view after that, which I can't remember what it is. Maybe I don't know what it is. Or maybe they'll keep it till SummerSlam, who knows. Possible reason why Nikki Cross was exempt from Sanity's call-up. On Tuesday's episode of SmackDown, we learned that Sanity was joining the Blue Band, but only 3 of the members. Conspicuously by her absence was Nikki Cross in the graphic. On Wrestling Observer's Radio, Dave Meltzer, take this all with a grain of salt. Anything Dave Meltzer says from here, like from now until he gets another insider in the WWE, everything he says is a grain of salt. At one time, Dave Meltzer did have somebody inside WWE who would give him information. He doesn't have that anymore, so everything he says is just his thought alone. He does say that it wasn't called out with Sanity because he was surprised by Nikki Cross. I think maybe they're going to do something with Nikki Cross and Shayna Baszler because Shayna is in the exception. With the exception of Kairi Sane, Shayna Baszler is really weak on opponents in NXT, but I think she would have been good for that act on the main roster. Sanity can be a babyface team, they can be a heel team, either one mix with all the other teams they got, it's new matches. Yes, I think it is going to hurt Sanity a little bit, but honestly, Nikki Cross, quite honestly, was doing her own thing for the majority of the last, until Asuka came up. it was Sanity, but Nikki Cross wasn't always there, and Nikki Cross was doing a lot in the women's division. She was facing Ember Moon. She was facing Asuka in a last woman standing match. She was in a fatal 4-way at the beginning of last year, I believe. Yeah, with Peyton Royce, Billie Kay, and Asuka. So it's going to be interesting to see how Sanity works without their twisted sister, as they called it. I think I heard rumors about they might be giving her a character change. I don't buy that. You can't, like, Nikki Cross is going to be down there probably to take on Shayna Baszler, but it looks like Dakota Kai will get that first. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So there's one possible reason why Nikki Cross did not come up is because they wanted to do a program with her and Shayna Baszler, but we will have to wait and see on that. Moving on here, Braun Strowman on his WrestleMania 34 match. Braun Strowman teamed up with 10-year-old Nicholas at WrestleMania, which was a joke in my opinion, winning the Raw Tag Team Championship before relinquishing the next night on Raw. Made it even worse. Strowman recently spoke to Sam Roberts on his podcast and revealed if he found his Mania match to be disappointing. That's the thing. Everyone is like, oh, you should be main eventing. Yes, he should have. But I'm like, I'm just getting started. I'm just sweating my beak right now. We have a lot more to do. Why rush everything right now? The match is behind me. The universe is behind me. Let's enjoy this. Let's have fun. And let's go out there and do it together. It was a massive disappointment in the fans' eyes because you took the tag team titles. These tag team titles that they won are the same set of tag team titles that the New Day broke. Are the longest reigning tag team champions in all of WWE. They broke Demolition's record. Of course, it was a different set of tag team titles, but for overall record, it is it was the longest reigning tag team championship of all time. Yeah, now you have, and then you had the Bar versus the Hardys last year. You had the Bar versus the Shield, which went a little too long in my opinion, and any more copies. But now you went and you buried the tag team titles. They didn't go 6 feet under, they went 12 feet under. And I believe it was Taz who said it. WWE loves to rag on David Arquette. And anything that anyone talks about Monday Night War, when David Arquette won the World Heavyweight Championship, they have given up every single fucking right to ever make fun of that again. When David Arquette is a grown adult who I believe speared Eric Bischoff, and the referee called over and counted the 3 and gave him the championship. That's one thing. This was a 10-year-old kid. I don't give a fuck who the dad was. I don't give a fuck who the mom was. This is a 10-year-old kid who has no business being on the main stage at WrestleMania, taking a spot from a Samoa Joe, from an Elias, from somebody. That was a joke, and I never want to see that again. And that killed whatever was like anybody who had a chance to, like, if anybody in that arena was excited for the main event, which there were 78,000 people, 78,000 plus, that's going to happen eventually. You're going to have somebody who's excited. When that match happened and that match ended that way, everybody in the arena didn't give a fuck about the show anymore. That match could have been the first thing out there. It was smart that they brought it in, made it the next to last match. But if that would have been like one of the first few matches, you would have killed WrestleMania completely. If it would have been like Seth Rollins and Finn Balor and The Miz open the show, and then the very next match is Nicholas and Braun Strowman versus The Bar, everything else after that would have just killed that show. It was a bad move. It was a stupid move. I don't even give a fuck if Nicholas was a Make-A-Wish kid. That is not something you should do. I don't give a fuck if his dad was the referee. It doesn't fucking matter. That was a stupid shitty fucking move that hurt WrestleMania. It didn't give WrestleMania any great points. People want to give WrestleMania an 8 or a 9. The rest of the show could have been fucking 4 and 5-star matches. That right there would have took WrestleMania down at least 3 or 4 points. It was a mistake. It took a spot from somebody who could have used it. That could have been Drew McIntyre's call up. That could have been No Way Jose's call up. No. This is what you give us. A 10-year-old fucking kid who has no business being in the middle of WrestleMania, taking a spot away from everybody else who works their ass off every fucking day of the year for that. And you wasted Braun Strowman as well. The guy who should have been in the spot that Roman Reigns was in. Do you imagine what the fans would have been like Like, the tag team championship match was the buffer. It gave the tag team championship match was a buffer. You had the Bar versus somebody else, and then the next match would have been Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar. The fans would have been during that tag team match just sitting there on their phones or resting themselves up to cheer on Braun Strowman. But that's what you gave us. You wasted Braun Strowman. He might be okay with it, but as long as the other fans, Stone Cold Steve Austin didn't like it. Nobody liked it. I don't give a fuck what you have planned for Braun Strowman. He'll never be able to live this down. And I don't want to see this next year when we get to WrestleMania 35 and they do those flashback moments. I don't want to see this anywhere near a fucking WrestleMania moment because it wasn't a good moment at all. Moving on here, Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley, the big match that everyone's expecting to happen. Well, it probably might not be happening after all. Dave Meltzer has reported in the latest WrestleMania newsletter that Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley is not on the agenda in WWE. Again, as I stated earlier, Dave Meltzer's thoughts are his own. He does not have the inside source that he used to have. So you have to take everything he says with a grain of salt. According to Meltzer, the plan is to have Lesnar lose to 2 other competitors before he makes his exit from WWE, and Lashley is not on the list. Reigns, of course, is one of the obvious candidates, and the other would be a star that could use some bear with a victory over the Beast, and that would be Braun Strowman. Quite honestly, if it's Brock Lesnar's way out, and because Roman Reigns wins at the Greatest Royal Rumble, he's not going to pin Brock Lesnar. He's going to exit the ring and probably win that way. It's really the only way that anyone other than a Samoa Joe or Braun Strowman should beat Brock Lesnar. Beat him down and get out and win the match. Bobby Lashley is in his 40s, whereas Braun Strowman, I believe, is in his early 20s, or like late 20s, early 30s. Giving Bobby Lashley a win over Brock Lesnar would not do anything for anybody. Like 10 years ago, yeah, Bobby Lashley beating a Brock Lesnar would have been huge for Bobby Lashley, would have set him up for his entire career. Now, not so much. So, that is definitely interesting because when Bobby Lashley came back, my dad and a bunch of other people was like, oh, we're going to get Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. And quite honestly, I don't see that happening. If it doesn't happen, then I'm not mad about it. Bobby Lashley I don't know what they're going to do with Bobby Lashley. Apparently, he's full-time. I figured he was going to be another part-time guy. But Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar looks like it will not happen. But again, this is from Dave Meltzer, and everything Dave Meltzer says does not actually mean anything because he could be 110% wrong. So when we get to SummerSlam and we see Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar, then Dave Meltzer was wrong. But as far as we know, it's going to be Roman Reigns at the Greatest Royal Rumble, and then maybe SummerSlam Braun Strowman. I don't know. But those two are the names that are looking like it's who are going to beat Brock Lesnar, with Roman Reigns beating him via cage escape and Brock Lesnar actually getting pinned by Braun Strowman. The only problem with Brock Lesnar losing to Roman Reigns is that he's losing the championship, which means what would be the point of having Braun Strowman beat Brock Lesnar when he doesn't have he's not gaining anything other than pinning somebody who's not even the champion anymore. We'll have to wait and see. This one was great. This one, I think, just sets this guy up for a long while. The Rock endorses a new NXT superstar. I mentioned it earlier. The Rock gave a shout-out to Ricochet on Twitter, saying he's the man. Love the stuff King is doing, because Ricochet is known as King Ricochet on the Independents, and will no doubt be the leader in ushering in a new era of our wrestling business. Future champ. Ricochet responds, thanks man, that truly means the world. Basically what this stands for is, I believe it was last night, Ricochet was facing the Velveteen Dream in one of the house shows, and he does the spine buster like The Rock would do, he pretty much tried to do, it looked like a people's elbow, but then he turned around and did a moonsault for a 2 count. So he hit a people's moonsault. Rock got wind of this and shouted him out, calling him a future of the business. Now if I'm Ricochet, that right there is just that pretty much gives him, you can't get any better than that. John Cena, that endorsement doesn't mean anything. Triple H could be a good endorsement, but having the people's champion, The Rock, come out and say you are a future world champion and the leader, no doubt, will be the leader in ushering a new era of a wrestling business, future champ. That right there says more than anything Triple H, John Cena, or anybody else can say. This guy right here, and I don't care what, if you're not a fan of Ricochet, then you don't know what you're talking about, because Ricochet is going to be one of, if not the best. And this guy's in his 20s, I believe, still. So he's got a long way to go. We don't need to see Ricochet up on the main roster for like 2 years. It would be great to see Ricochet be NXT champion by the end of the year or beginning of next year. Maybe take over in Los Angeles or take over in Arizona. We will have to wait and see. But Ricochet just got the biggest endorsement of his life in WWE. Finally, we're going to end here on big news on Brock Lesnar's massive new deal. Fox Sports is reporting that Brock Lesnar's new WWE deal includes a massive $637,000 per match deal. Lesnar also reportedly earns $127,000 for each television appearance, as well as 6% from all merchandise sales. Unlike Lesnar's last deal, the WWE will be able to use Lesnar's likeness for merchandising, which nets the Beast another $637,000 per year. Brock Lesnar's next $637,000 bout will be in the Greatest Royal Rumble in a steel cage match against Roman Reigns. I'm sorry. Brock Lesnar's not worth $637,000 a match. He's not. He hasn't been for about 5 years. He's been in WWE again. He's been back in WWE for 7 years now. And since WrestleMania 31, 4 years ago, when he started his Suplex City, bitch, he has not been worth $637,000. That's just too much per match. So when he comes on Monday Night Raw this coming Monday, he'll just showing up and hitting his music hits. That dude nets $127,000 right there. He earns another $637,000 just for merchandise alone. This dude is fleecing WWE. And you want to know why we don't have Pyro? You want to know why things like Talking Smack and other things like that have been erased from WWE Network? Because they have to compensate for Brock Lesnar's contract. They don't want to say otherwise, but this is also why they want to sign Brock Lesnar to multiple deals. It's because they think he is a draw, and he is somewhat, but he isn't. Brock Lesnar wasn't selling out WrestleMania. Brock Lesnar wasn't the reason WrestleMania signed out, no matter how delusional Vince McMahon is. Brock Lesnar hasn't sold out a fucking pay-per-view all year. Great Balls of Fire wasn't sold out. SummerSlam wasn't sold out because of Brock Lesnar. Survivor Series wasn't sold out. No Mercy wasn't sold out. The Royal Rumble wasn't sold out because of Brock Lesnar. WrestleMania, of course, was not sold out because of Brock Lesnar. Ticket sales at WrestleMania this past month, 2 weeks ago, they were doing bad. As soon as Daniel Bryan got put on that card, those tickets sold like hotcakes because everybody wanted to see Daniel Bryan's return. So Brock Lesnar being the major draw, no. And the fact that we have to see this guy at Saudi Arabia putting Roman Reigns over is just going to be pathetic. Plain and simple. The fact that he's probably going to hit 3, 4, 5, maybe he might hit 7 F5s. And Roman Reigns going to hit a couple spears, and then he's going to exit the cage. This is WWE just trying to do everything they can to get Roman Reigns over, and it's going to hurt them in the end. Now, speaking of Roman Reigns, why are we getting him at the Greatest Royal Rumble against Brock Lesnar? I don't care what Brian Elliott said. I don't care what Dave Meltzer says. The reason they changed that finish at WrestleMania was not because, oh, well, you already paid your tickets to go to WrestleMania, so they didn't have to change the title there. That's bullshit. That's fucking bullshit, and you know it. They changed the title to that thing because they failed. They failed to get Roman Reigns over like they wanted to. And what did they do? They went out and they were like, you know what? Roman Reigns, we fucked up this time, so we're gonna go. And you're like in Saudi Arabia, so let's just take the WWE, the Universal Championship over there. We'll have you get the title over there, and because they're gonna probably cheer, they're gonna cheer for you like we want them to. When you come back, maybe that will get into the fans here, and they'll cheer for you too. That's a fucking stupid-ass reason to take this entire bill that you've had for 4 fucking years, whatever you want to go with, and hold it off until WrestleMania, until the Greatest Royal Rumble, which the stage, I've seen the stage pictures and what they've seen. This entire Greatest Royal Rumble is pretty much a redo on WrestleMania for a couple things. You have the WWE Championship in that show being a rematch from WrestleMania. The Universal title is a rematch from WrestleMania. Adding Samoa Joe in and supposedly Bobby Lashley too is pretty much a rematch for the Intercontinental title. Jinder Mahal and Jeff Hardy is like one of the few matches, and Brett and the Bar will also be in their tag team title match. Mustafa Ali is probably going to get his rematch, even though they made it a gauntlet match this coming Tuesday on 205 Live. And also, Asuka, by the way, is getting her first match on SmackDown Live, where she and Becky Lynch will team up to take on the Iconics. Not Charlotte and Carmella in a 6-woman tag match. Thank fucking God. I'm getting tired of 6-woman tag matches or 6-person tag matches overall. But Asuka and Becky Lynch will team up, and I'm sure Carmella and Charlotte will be out there too. But the fact that they sacrificed the entire WrestleMania just to give us the Greatest Royal Rumble, which looks like it's going to be another WrestleMania-esque card. So basically, they took WrestleMania, sacrificed it to give us another WrestleMania, and if the Greatest Royal Rumble turns out to be better than WrestleMania itself, what the fuck is WWE doing between January and April then? January through April is supposed to be the time when the Royal Rumble ends. When the Royal Rumble ends, and we're on that road to WrestleMania, that is supposed to be the best time WWE actually cares about their booking. And basically, the way it's looking right now, they extended that 3 weeks this year. Because WrestleMania was just a stepping stone to what was supposed to be a glorified house show in Saudi Arabia is now going to be WrestleMania-esque. And if we come out of this, forget the Royal Rumble. I mean, forget Brock Lesnar. Forget Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, because we know that's how that's going to be. Forget that one just for a minute. If everything else on this show is 4 stars or higher, then, and like I'm going to say, forget the Royal Rumble too. Forget those 2 matches, Brock Lesnar versus the Royal Rumble. If everything else on this show, from the ladder match, from the 2 tag team title matches, to the other world title matches, to the cruiserweight title match, if all these other matches are 4.5 star or better, what the fuck is WrestleMania for then? That diminishes WrestleMania so much. And this is supposed to be a 5-hour show. Now, yes, the Royal Rumble is going to be an hour itself. So I have a feeling like the Bludgeon Brothers versus the Usos, which we'll talk about this next Thursday, and if previewing predictions, it's probably going to be another squash match, but we'll get to that when we do. But this is WWE just not knowing what they're going to do. And there's also talk that Roman Reigns might not even walk out of Saudi Arabia as WWE Universal Champion, and Brock Lesnar continues to hold it. If Brock Lesnar comes out of Saudi Arabia still your reigning defending Universal Champion, I don't know what WWE is going to do. And there's no way that you can just say, well, at Backlash, it's going to be Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe versus Brock Lesnar, because that's no. You have a match set for Backlash, SmackDown versus Raw, Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe. It needs to stay that way. And if Brock Lesnar comes out of Greatest Royal Rumble as the Universal Champion, what the fuck are they doing? Because I honestly don't know. They have spent 4 years on Roman Reigns, and it's been a failure. If he doesn't walk out the Greatest Royal Rumble, which we'll talk about this next Thursday, I don't know what else to say. But that's going to be all for this week. It is getting late here when I'm recording this. We went over a lot. This is going to be this was WWE's craziest week. Raw took pretty much took the scraps from SmackDown Live with a couple of meat. Like, they took all the scraps with a little bit of meat in there, trying to make a freaking souffle out of that. While SmackDown took a lot of the good possibilities and gave you a stacked roster, with WWE hopefully not fucking it up like they did last year with Jinder Mahal, the modern day Theory Raja. And we hopefully have AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe knocking out of the park. AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura at the Greatest Royal Rumble knocking out of the park. Daniel Bryan versus Samoa Joe. Daniel Bryan versus Jeff Hardy. Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton. Daniel Bryan versus this person. Then Jeff Hardy versus this person. Hopefully Rusev will have a better showing. But, of course, if you want to look at good wrestling and you're tired of the main roster, $9.99 for the WWE Network and watch NXT every single week, because I guarantee you will be blown out of your mind and you will not be disappointed. But my name is DeFranz. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm 3 subs away from getting my own personal URL. Can I get some subs out of this one, please? Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell for all notifications. Hit that like button. Give me a comment down below on your thoughts on everything we covered today, as well as what your thoughts are on Bruno Sammartino, and if you were alive at that time, to know. Give me your memories of the guy, as well as let me know what your thoughts were of the Superstar Shakeup this week and who is the actual better brand. Make sure to find me on Twitter at DeFranz and twitch.tv/DeFranz08, where I will be there every single day, unless something comes up. And I will see you guys on Monday for the Raw review show, SmackDown Live on Tuesday. Wednesday we'll be here for NXT. Thursday with the Greatest Royal Rumble preview and predictions. Friday for the Greatest Royal Rumble, and Saturday for another episode of Unscripted. Until then, I am out of here.